Portions of this video are sponsored by the National Pork Board. As seen on TV, products offer ingenuity, convenience, and can even save you time. But are these cooking gadgets worth your money? Let's find out. First out the gate is the Red Copper 5-Minute Chef, starring the sultry Kathy Mitchell. Okay then, opening up the packaging, you get a fancy red spatula, a booklet, and the Red Copper Junior Foreman as well. Taking a closer look, the chef is sturdy and well made, but definitely suited for smaller meals. Utilizing the recipe book, which is something we don't normally do, we're gonna use our 5 minutes to create the express pie. To start this off, we'll carefully unroll this pie crust and then cut it into nice quarters. With that done, you can fold the center points out to meet the outer edge. Using the side of a glass as a rolling pin, you can flatten these sections out into a football-like shape. Just keep rolling them and flatten them out and then place them right into the red copper. Well, one of them anyway. And this is going to form the base. Once you've got that done, fill in the center with some glorious pie filling. Then place another pastry over the top. When that's done, just slap the lid shut, plug it in, and let it cook for 15 minutes. When that blissful timer finally goes off, a quick peek reveals that the top of the pastry isn't quite done yet. We gave it another 3 minutes and the expressious pie was done. The pastry came out right and it's looking pretty good, and after utilizing the confectioner's maneuver, we covered it with powdered sugar. There's no denying that this thing works great and makes an amazing knockoff fast food apple pie. And boy is it tasty. The only downside that we ran into was that it's a real chore to clean, involving a vacuum and various other tools to get all the pieces out. That being said, we'll definitely keep this in our kitchen arsenal. Now, what if you don't have 30 minutes to make a tasty treat? Well, this portion of the video is sponsored by the National Pork Board, and if you want a quick and delicious meal on your lunch break or for dinner, what better than pork? We're gonna fry up this pork tenderloin without any fancy gadgets or doodads. Just set your stovetop to medium-high and add a splash of your favorite oil. You can even season things while the oil warms up. A common misconception is that pork is high in fat, which is most likely because people think of bacon, sausage, or even pepperoni. However, a pork tenderloin like we have here is actually just as lean as skinless chicken breast and filled to the brim with protein. We're gonna toss our tenderloins in for 3 minutes per side and check the temperature as we go. Having a meat thermometer on hand is the safest and most efficient way to get the perfect pork. Just insert the probe into the thickest portion of the meat and stop in the middle. Cuts of pork like loin roast, chops, or these tenderloins are safe to eat and at their most delicious state when they reach an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, and the USDA will back that up. Looks like we did it. The next step is to set that pork aside for a 3-minute rest. These are looking pretty good and hardly took any time at all. Commercial retail pork is totally safe to eat with a nice blush pink color in the middle, just as long as you hit that 145 degree internal temperature. And that's it. Pork is simple and convenient to prepare. That's why you should make it part of your routine. Just head over to pork.org/cooking to learn more. And thanks again to the National Pork Board for sponsoring this portion of the video. You've probably heard of this one before, the Power Air Fryer XL. Simply put, it's a countertop miracle that recreates that fried food taste, but with much fewer calories. This device comes fully equipped with a digital panel, automatic shutoff, and a full testimonial from the Dread Pirate Roberts himself, Eric Thies. Coming out of the box, you've got America's favorite recipes revealed, New York Times bestseller, some instructions, a random part we'll get to later, and the behemoth itself. Impressed by the sleek design so far, the 2.4 quart non-stick basket slides right out once you've got missile lock. When removed from the device, depressing the red button will release the fryer basket right from the sliding tray. Okay, back to that random part. It's actually a basket separator to keep your foods apart while cooking. It slides right in with ease. Okay, maybe not. Just be careful because you'll scratch the interior like we did here if you're not paying attention. Just as they revealed recipes, we're gonna reveal the secret of how these things work. Taking a quick peek inside shows that it's not a fryer at all, since that would require tons of oil. It's got a circular heating element similar to what you might see on top of a stove, along with a fan. To break it down for you, it's a convection oven. which both heats the air and circulates it around your food continuously. Before taking on some cooking, let's detail some of the features of the device. To start, the unit won't power on unless the tray is in place. Once locked in, you can roll through any of the presets for all kinds of different foods, or just manually adjust the temperatures yourself if you're an air fryer pro. We grabbed ourselves a couple potatoes and did a masterful cut all the way across, making some beautiful skinned fries. They were then added to a plate and lightly drizzled with some extra virgin olive oil. After tossing them around a bit and putting some salt and pepper on there, they were ready to go. All that's left is to load them into the basket and slide that tray right in. Utilizing the fries preset, we're going to tack on an extra 2 minutes and ensure that ours are extra crispy. When that's done, just tap the power button and the unit will spring to life. Looks like everything's working as intended. At the halfway point, you're supposed to remove the tray, shake it around a bit and make sure it's listening. This will guarantee that no food gets stuck to the side and that even cooking's happening. Everything's looking good so far, so we're going to slide it back in and let it finish its job. When the timer finally expires, nothing happens. In fact, the screen goes dark and you sit there in awe wondering what you did wrong. And that is when the buzzer goes off. Alright, time to collect our bountiful feast. As expected, these look awesome. Crispy and brown just like we'd hoped for. After adding a bit more salt and some delicious ketchup, this party for one is in full swing. If you really want to step up your game and get artsy or charge more for your gourmet fries, you can even serve them on a nice granite block to impress your customers. All in all, we thought this thing was pretty amazing. Can't wait to try it out with different foods in the future. So if the price is right, pick one up yourself, because then Eric Thies will get himself a nice gold star. The VEGETTI Power is an electric spiral cutter that effortlessly transforms your veggies from paperweights to Michelin star pasta. Cracking open the box, we've got ourselves a little booklet action and the Veggetti unit with all the attachments inside. The booklet contains a handful of recipes that you'll probably never make, as well as some important instructions, but we like to figure this stuff out on our own. Sitting on top of the unit is a hopper and veggie steak that you'll use to feed the machine. The container topper houses the motors, and inside the container below lies the various blade attachments. Now there's 4 blades to choose from, but everyone knows part 1 is the best. There's spiral, ribbon, thin, and thick, which sounds like a good choice for now. Just drop the blade into the mouth of the device and then put the hopper back on top and lock it in with a twist. Now all you've got to do is power it up, and the blade will rotate automatically. When feeding the Veggetti, you don't want to do it by hand because it's hard to keep constant pressure on it while it's cutting. This results in little chips of veggies flying off and takes away from the aesthetic. Instead, plunge the steak into the base of the food and use that to slowly press down into the unit. As you can see, this nets a much better turnout, creating a tight spiral of uniform size. Examining the progress, there's a few really impressive strands and some leftovers of where the carrot wasn't quite thick enough to catch a full rotation. Swapping the thick blade out and replacing it with the thin blade, the hopper was twisted back on before staking a mammoth-sized zucchini, which shouldn't have the same issue. Pressing the zucchini down firmly, the results speak for themselves. Beautiful noodles were created, looping and stacking in on themselves. Taking them out of the container, these noodles had the size and consistency of an udon noodle. Pleasantly surprised so far, a yellow squash was also loaded up to finish our multicolored plate of mediocrity. Having just a couple losses during the thinner section, the Veggetti continued to impress from start to finish. With just 3 simple vegetables, we already had a veritable cornucopia of pasta to disappoint our eager guests. Now if only we had something to cook this with. Introducing the Pasta and More. Chef Tony's handy contraption makes pasta preparation an easy task by skipping the stovetop and heading straight for the microwave. Like usual. Inside the box, we've got a bunch of wrapped plastic pieces and another recipe book. Sneakily hidden inside the recipes, you'll discover the actual instructions, which will describe the device as well as cooking times for various quantities. This 4-piece device is comprised of a storage lid that we don't need right now, steaming racks for steaming vegetables, a strainer lid, and a plastic bucket. The magical handles of your bucket are also measuring devices if you're making traditional pasta. As you can see, halfway full is 1 serving, and fully loaded is what We actually call one serving, but they call two. Since we're using veggie pasta instead of the normal stuff, it's a bit harder to measure out with the handle. Instead, just throw it all in there and hope for the best. Utilizing our powers of deduction, it was concluded that 3 vegetables should be equal to 6 servings of pasta, so the container's bucket was filled up to the 6 mark, with a little extra thrown in for good measure. Now you just slide the container into the microwave, keep the lid off, and set the timer for 18 minutes. As time passes, it's a great idea to stare at it every so often, because everyone knows that makes it cook quickly and evenly. Once time expired, the container was removed from the microwave and the strainer lid was slid on. Once in position, the other side snaps snugly into place and will allow you to pour out your leftover water without any risk of burn or fleeing pasta. All you've got to do is plate this tasteless treat the same way you would with better pasta. The vividness of its color has faded just a bit and the pasta did come out a little soggy, but you know what we say to al dente, not today. Since nothing says healthy quite like some oil and parsley, a generous amount of pesto was added to our creation to give it a little kick of flavor. Now all that's left to do is dive in and enjoy our delicious bounty. Or better yet, snag your automatic pasta machine and get this thing done right. Either way you swirl it or scoop it, the Pasta and More is a pretty simple device that has a myriad of uses. And if you hate stovetop cooking, well, Chef Microwave is always there for you in a pinch. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.